Hi, I'm Catherine Caroli. I'm the Associate Principal Flute Player of the Los Angeles Philharmonic. And I thought during this time when most of us are sheltered at home, hopefully we have a lot more time to practice. Certainly I do. And it brings up several issues that I find I often teach to students. So my idea was to make a series of videos for all of you to watch to cover these various topics. I hope they're helpful. You can always contact me at catherinecaroli@gmail.com if you have questions. Check out my Facebook page, Catherine Ransom Caroli. Any way you want to get in touch with me, I'd be happy to hear from you. So the first subject that I thought I would talk about is evenness of fingers technique, something that we all work on. And I think a lot of us often work on Taffanel-Gaubert number 4 exercise. I find that with students, typically their way of approaching this is to practice slowly and then gradually speed up the metronome. But I think there's actually a more efficient and effective way. The first thing I would do is pick one of the keys. So I'll just take G major and play through it and sort of assess where does it feel uncomfortable or where do I hear that the notes aren't even. So I notice in my own playing, and most people would probably agree, that some of the right hand technique isn't as stable as I would like. So if I find a passage or a measure to focus on, maybe the first measure, what I would do is apply what we call wood shutting techniques. And I thought for a while about why do we call them wood shutting techniques? Well, I think the idea is when you're carving a piece of wood, you're whittling away at it little by little by little in a very detailed and thought out way. So essentially, this is a very detailed and thought out way to make your wooden piece, your sculpture, have more refinement and more detail and more perfection. So the first thing I would do is practice long, short, long. Oftentimes people do this, but aren't thinking about this the way they should. You should make sure that, first of all, you're playing extremely legato with a beautiful sound. Second of all, you should make sure that the rhythm is very consistent from long, short, long to the next one. I would repeat that many times. You can pick a number. Sometimes it's fun to just draw a number from a hat between 5 and 10 and say, I'm going to repeat it, whatever number I draw. The next variation is short, long, short. Same rules apply. Consistent speed throughout and beautiful sound with very good legato. And do that a certain number of times, your choice. Then we move on to what I call the movable fermata technique. So basically, this is just playing a little bit longer on one note and playing very fast in between that note and the next note in regular intervals. So for example, in this exercise, I would play very long on the first 8th note, play quickly on the next 3 notes, and then stop on the following 8th note. In other words, stopping on every 4 notes. What I often notice happens with students is that either they're playing the notes too slowly, or they lose their beautiful quality of sound, or the rhythm is inconsistent. Again, these things are very important. And if I hear one part that doesn't sound quite even or feel quite comfortable, I might repeat that. I might look in the mirror to see if it looks like I have extraneous motion. I might think about the balance in my hand. Sometimes if you're using a lot of right hand fingers, you can balance the flute more in your left hand to make the right hand a little more relaxed. And when that feels comfortable, then I go on with my repetitions. The next step is to move the fermata literally over one note. Repeat that a fair number of times. And then the next note. And there you can see I sort of caught myself because our brain is not used to putting emphasis on the middle of groups of notes. We're often used to putting emphasis on the first note of each group. So the reason that I think this is effective is it kind of retrains the connection between our brain, our sight, if we're looking at the music, and our ear, and our fingers. So the way that we think about it, feel it, hear it, and see it is getting strengthened because you're throwing off what is typical and usual for you. So I would repeat things like this that are uncomfortable many times. And then the last one, putting the fermata on the last note. Again, repeating that many times. This seems like an awful lot of work and a very long time for something so simple. But I will tell you, there is no faster and more efficient way to build really good, solid, even finger technique. I just spent about 2 minutes showing you those variations. If I had played each one and hadn't talked, played each one about 5 or 10 times, it maybe would take me 5 minutes, and I would have improved that scale and my technique on that scale for the rest of my flute playing career in just 5 minutes. So I hope that that's helpful. I will be posting more practice tips and advice soon. If there are any requests you have, particular excerpts, pieces of music, or things you find difficult, I'd love to hear from you. Again, I'm Catherine Caroli, and feel free to contact me, catherinecaroli@gmail.com. Thank you.